I am the monster, rah rah rah. I am the monster, rah rah rah. I am the monster, I am the monster, I am the monster, rah rah rah.
All right, welcome back to part 2 of reacting to, or taking a look at Epic the Musical. This, I believe, is the start of the Cyclops saga, if I am understanding things correctly. I enjoyed looking at that first part. I felt like in the first saga, what we saw was a lot of hinting at higher powers and a pretty scary world. And based on the name of this saga, I'm assuming we're starting to get into a little more of that side of things, the scariness of the journey, rather than the feel-good sides, or as feel-good as like murdering a baby and slaughtering an army that's celebrating can be, at least. But yeah, I am Spencer Penrod. I am someone who has been really passionate about world building for many years, building worlds for stories, for D&D games, things like that. And I'm wanting to take a look here at Epic the Musical from the perspective of how they are building and presenting their world. So with that said, let's just go ahead and start watching the animatic here. Listen to some good music.
Over here. Look at all.
Okay, right away, what I'm noticing is they start off by looking into this cavern that seems to be filled with sheep. And instead of exploring it and potentially taking these sheep back to their ship, they fire off a shot. This seems to be Odysseus firing the shot. And kill the sheep at range with a bow, which is so strange. Sheep are not threatening. But what this seems to be pointing out to me is that even the most mundane animals, the most pacifistic, safe things, he can't bring himself to trust. He thinks that there is just so much lurking beneath the surface that the innocence and the safety that presumes to be here is like setting off alarm bells in his head. So that's really interesting. I also notice here we've got a little lotus eater riding on his shoulder. So that's fun. I imagine they were showing them the way to this cave since they were the ones who gave them directions initially. Weird that one of them split off when they seem to be like a hive mind that seems to be really focused around the lotuses. You think that they wouldn't want to leave their source of food, but really this again hints at the lotus eaters being a lot less malicious and purely dedicated to spreading their own influence in the way that you would normally expect from a hive mind, which is pretty interesting.
This food. Look at all these sheep. I can't believe this cave has all this for us to keep. I've gotta hand it to you.
Okay, obviously we know this is not going to go well for them. It's Polyphemus. This is the Cyclops saga. But it's really wild to me that they see all of these sheep here, a domesticated animal. They're obviously like herded and penned in the cave. They seem to see food in very constructed devices, storage areas, and they're like, yeah, this is just all free game. So that's some of that ruthless optimism we've got going on from oh, what was his name? The glasses guy. I'm gonna butcher it. I'm so bad with remembering names. I remember it starts with a P. I ask for everyone to forgive me for not remembering his name. But yeah, it seems like people might be a little infected by, I guess they are presumably starving because they ran out of food, but still, I feel like they should be a little more on edge here.
Whoa, this is quite the treat. There are enough sheep here to feed the entire fleet.
It's almost too perfect, too good to be true.
At least Odysseus is still showing that he does not trust anything. So he seems to be the only one with a decent head on his shoulders. He's really showing off cynicism and skepticism about everything in the world so far. So it's nice to see that characterization continue strong and not just take this boon for granted.
Why would the Lotus Eaters pass up on all this food?
Okay, so he asks why the Lotus Eaters would pass up on the food. Obviously, that's because they eat lotus. It's like a hive mind, creepy monster thing. It makes sense that they wouldn't be eating other food. So that's kind of a weird thing. Also, this shot is scary. This is not what I imagined a Cyclops to look like. It also looks tiny from this angle. It looks like a tiny slug with many arms, but I think that might be a matter of perspective here. Oh, yep. That looks much more intimidating and like a Cyclops. So he's huge. This cave is not large enough for this man. So it's weird to me. This is obviously where he keeps his food. I feel like they should have seen signs of a Cyclops living nearby. They would definitely like terraform the land. I don't know if this is right outside a Cyclops city or if this guy is kind of a loner living in the wilderness. But you would think at the very least they would see like a giant Cyclops trail leading up to the cave and be suspicious. So it's a little interesting. I guess that means that our Cyclops here, Polyphemus, is maybe just really in tune with nature. Maybe he just really doesn't want to change anything. And that's how Cyclops behave, is that they don't want their presence. Kind of like, I don't know if anyone was a Boy Scout or in scouting, but I grew up in that. And they always stress to leave things like there was no trace of you there. Leave it better than you found. I wonder if that's how Cyclops behave. And that's why they couldn't see any sign of them.
Hey there.
Hey there.
We're just travelers.
What was the glowing thing that he just put into his pocket?
Hey there.
Yeah, that. Looks like a glowing stone or something. Maybe it's a torch, but he wasn't holding a torch. Huh. Interesting. I've got nothing to say on that other than I'm curious.
We're just travelers. We come in peace.
You killed my sheep. My favorite sheep.
That implies he was like raising them as pets, not food. Or maybe he was saving it for later, I guess. I love seeing him cry over it though. This is really, really hinting at him living in tune with nature to me. That maybe he eats these sheep, but he seems to really value them and put care into them beyond just livestock. That's pretty interesting.
What gives you the right to deal the pain so deep? Don't you know that pain you sow is pain you reap? Time to drink your blood over where you stand. Your life now is in my hand. Before I'm done, you will learn that it's not so fun to take. You came to my home to steal, but now you become my meal. A trade you see, take from you like you took from me.
Okay, that is a terrifying shot. The Cyclops is not just a big man with one eye. This is like some sort of demon. I mean, I guess the red eye and the horns definitely lended itself to that, but the throat full of jagged teeth is horrifying. It's really cool though. Like, he is distraught about this sheep. This is not what you do when someone takes your food. it's really cool juxtaposition to see this really demonic design with a more nature-focused, almost like druid-like take on his relationship to these animals and to nature.
There's been a misunderstanding. We never came here to steal. But now that I see we've done some damage, maybe you and I can make a deal. I'll give you our finest treasure, so long as we leave alive. You can keep the world's best tasting wine.
Wine?
Have a drink, one sip and you'll understand the power that's in your hands. A wine so fresh, you'd never want to eat human flesh again. Then we shall be on.
Is wine supposed to be fresh? I'm not a big wine guy, but that seems like a weird way to describe it. Like, you want wine to be aged, don't you? Isn't that kind of the opposite of fresh? Weird. Also weird that he seems really interested in the wine, especially in such tiny quantities. It seems like it definitely has value to him. I guess he just likes to drink.
On our way, no bloodshed in here today. A trade you see, gift from you and a gift from me.
I'd like to thank you. Stranger, what's your name?
My name is Nobody. Nobody. Nobody.
Nobody. For your gift, I've won to reply.
I'm so glad we see eye to eye.
Yes, you shall be the final man to die.
What? Watch out!
Okay, so interesting. We see that the Cyclops here is completely set on killing them. For a relatively minor slight, they were huge amounts of those sheep. Like, obviously trespassing, murdering his flock, not cool. But he seems so hurt by that he's willing to kill even when offered reparations. And apparently even gifts that he likes, that's not enough to appease him. So vengeance seems to, again, be a theme here, not just in society or in Odysseus himself, but just in this world where it doesn't matter the level of the slight. Like, it seems like if you are slighted, you are supposed to avenge yourself of that slight. You can't be talked out of it. And maybe that's just something shared by the Cyclops and by Odysseus and by some of the men under his command, but it's really seeming to be more like a theme of the world in general, which is pretty interesting to me. Let's see what happens next.
My brothers, the rest of our fleet, they wait at the beach. And if we're defeated, their good is dead. Straight ahead, that is who we're fighting. No backup, no chance for support. So draw out your sword. Our foe must be thwarted right here and now. Show me how great is your will to survive. 600 lives at sea.
I find it interesting that he has time to give a speech here, which seems like the Cyclops is toying with them or maybe giving them some time for like last words and goodbyes. Either is interesting, but they would mean pretty different things. Obviously, if he's toying with them, he's just kind of sadistic. Whereas if he's giving him time, then that shows some level of respect, even to people who have really pissed him off and who are like he's actively working to kill, which makes the killing seem less like a vicious thing and more like a ritual that needs completed, almost one that isn't necessarily driven by intense emotion, because he can put a pause on it to let them have their own time and space. So that's, I wonder if that's what it's hinting at.
It's just one life to take.
Oh, there's that baby.
We kill him, then our journey's over. No dying on me now. Defeat is not allowed. We must live through this day. So fight, fight, fight.
These horns are definitely moving around, right? Like, I could have sworn they were pointing the other way at first. Does that mean they're more like hair or appendages that can move? Or am I just going crazy and misremembering it? That might be possible.
Surround him. Attack from behind. Keep distance in mind and stay in his blind spot and strike his heels. Strike the heels. Show him that we're deadly. Exhaust him. Don't let him get close. He's strong but he's slow. He can't land a blow if we're out of reach. Find a breach. Stand up and fight for your love.
What is he doing up there? How did he even get up there? I mean, I feel like that tells us that the construction of the sword is really good. I don't think most old swords would be able to like hold up the weight of a person that high off the ground while jammed into rocks, especially after being used for 10 years at war, presumably. So they must have like really good weaponsmithing, which is pretty cool. But I'm just baffled by the decision to go up there to shout out commands. It just doesn't make sense. What a silly little guy. I think he's dramatic. This shot is very reminiscent of the Lotus Eater's introduction. I wonder if it's a callback to that, because they're all calling out, like singing in sync, and they've got the same glowing eyes. I wonder, especially since we just saw a Lotus Eater, I wonder if it's meant to say that they have so much trust in their commander that they are kind of operating in a hive mind themselves. That this culture is so trusting in their war structure that their commander's will is literally their own, that they just cannot diverge from it. Oh, okay, I guess that's why he was going up. It didn't exactly look like he was climbing, but I guess that's what you get with an animatic, is it's just little pictures. But that makes more sense, I guess. He's telling everyone to focus the ankles and then going for the head himself, which doesn't make sense. But I think we're seeing again that he really puts trust in himself over everything else. We saw it when he was dealing with the gods a little bit, but also it seems like now we're seeing more of the same, where he's just this force of personality that believes in himself and is planning to ride or die on that, I guess. Like literally putting life into his own hands and his own capabilities, and just has no fear. That was definitely Attack on Titan, by the way. I don't have anything to say beyond that, but that's cool. those glasses though, I know I talked about them last time, but they just look so modern. Look at that glass. It's the only blue thing here. It's so clear and reflective, and you got the little light streaks, and it just, the frames are so sleek. Like, this guy is from the future, I think. That wasn't a serious guess, by the way. His glasses are really impressing me.
Captain.
Enough.
Okay, actually, I don't want to make everything about the glasses.
Enough.
But, like, this guy just got killed in a blow by a Cyclops that was towering over them. His glasses fell to the ground after that, were already broken, and look how intact they still are. Like, yes, they broke, but they weren't, like, shattered. These glasses are so tough. Like, what? Maybe they just avoided most of the hit, but I feel like the construction of those glasses is like an armored car or something. That's wild. I know I should be more upset about the guy who just died, but
He's got a club!
he's got a club.
Orders. Captain! Captain!
You're so surprised he has a weapon of some sort. Why is that so surprising? Like, obviously he would have something. But I guess they have been exploring this cave. They didn't see a club anywhere. And they've been fighting him and didn't see a club anywhere. So now he suddenly has a club. I would like to think... My headcanon is that he's magic and summoned the club out of nowhere. I don't think that's realistic. I think it's probably more likely that one of these structures he ripped apart and turned into a club, which is something that makes a lot more sense. Or maybe the club was just so big they didn't even consider it as a weapon or anything before. But I'm putting this into my tinfoil hat theory basket where Cyclops are secretly magicians. I expect it to be the only point of evidence in that particular theory, but we'll see. Okay, so he was definitely just hit in the chest. Maybe that's why the glasses survived so much. But still, I'm pretty impressed by their durability.
You've heard me enough. 600 lives I'll take. 600 lives I'll break. And when I kill you, then my fate is over. You're dying here.
And when I kill you, then my pain is over, he says. So he's still... Like, this isn't an offense to him. It's not like he's offended or feeling ripped off or slighted or even disrespected or anything that you would typically expect. It's that he's literally in pain from them killing his sheep. Like, this was something born from love. That's just so interesting to me, because normally you would see, like, I've heard this story presented before, obviously, and in other takes you see, at least from what I'm remembering, that they slight this guy by stealing his property, basically. But this is so much cooler, where he's, like, loving the little sheep, and it reminds me of VeggieTales. I won't get into a tangent too much about that, but the King David story in VeggieTales has, like, a very similar vibe to this, which is not what I expected going in, or especially with the gore and flash warning. But I'm getting VeggieTales vibes a little bit from just someone who cares so much about the flock that he's caring for. I wonder if anyone gets that reference.
Here and now, escape is not allowed. You won't live through this day now. Die.
he just passed out.
We must move quickly. We don't have much time. He didn't notice I mixed lotus in his wine.
He mixed lotus in his wine. It's a poison? What? So the lotus eaters become like a hive mind. I wonder, does the Cyclops become part of that hive mind now? Or is it too far away for the influence to work? And that's why it just knocked him out? Or is part of the process always knocking them out? Huh. That has really interesting implications for what the lotus is. And also really confusing as to why he would do that. He must have known the lotus had this potent ability to knock him out, or would otherwise adversely affect him, because it wouldn't help if like it just made him part of the hive mind and now the entire hive mind is pissed off at him instead of just the Cyclops. Weird. I wonder, maybe he's some kind of alchemist. Not alchemist, probably, but herbologist of magical possessing fruits. Is lotus a fruit?
Mark my words now. This is not the end.
But Captain, what do we do with our fallen friends?
Remember them when the fire begins to fade. For the fallen and afraid, we are not to let them die in vain. Remember them, we're the ones who...
Okay, so we don't have a ton of information here yet, but him asking what they're going to do with the fallen men, and the answer being to remember them, means that there's some sort of cultural care about the dead. They don't just leave them be, at least normally. If they normally just remembered the dead and didn't care for their dead bodies, then there wouldn't be any need for this conversation. But the fact that they were doing it means there's probably some kind of burial rite or some kind of procedure to follow with recovering the bodies of the fallen. And they're having to break it here. That would explain the tears. Because they are just in too dangerous of a situation. So it implies that there's some kind of burial or mourning process to follow with the dead, but that it's not something that is so ubiquitous and important in their culture that they can't compromise on it.
Carry on, the flames of those have gone, and our comrades will not die in vain. I need all our hands on this club. This is how we're getting out of here. Use your swords to sharpen a stub and turn it to a giant spear. Let's kill him. His body is blocking the path. If we kill him, we'll be stuck inside.
Captain, where do we attack him?
We gotta stab him in the eye.
Yes, sir. Remember them when the fire begins to fade.
Okay, so that is a club the size of like a ship. And it had, I don't know, 20, 30 men lifting it. But what I'm interested in is that they carved it into a spear. To be effective, you got to carve a pretty decent chunk of that away. Especially if it's going to be spearing into the face of a giant. And what they had to do that was their swords. Swords are not meant for whittling. And even if they were, it would wear out really, really quickly. I don't know how many people have whittled before, but you got to sharpen those knives like constantly. Maybe I just had crappy ones. But the swords are not meant for that. And so with the earlier animatics showing him climbing the walls with his swords, and then this one showing that they were able to carve down this absolutely massive chunk of wood without their swords being worse for the wear, or even if it did completely break them, being able to last through that whole task anyway, shows like insane workmanship on these swords. Like normally they would get way too dull to work, like way before they got anywhere near carving away all of this wood. So once again, I think there's probably some kind of supernatural element even going on with their swords. So I'm interested to see what other weaponry they've got and if it's on the same level.
For the fallen and afraid, we are not to let them die in vain. Remember them, we're the ones who carry on the flames of those who've gone, and our comrades will not die in vain.
Okay, I think this is an older cinematic. So I think the last one we watched was more new or more canon from what I'm understanding, even though none of these are strictly canon. So I don't want to harp on the glasses too much, but in this one they were even more intact, and the guy had a head injury. So I don't know. I think there's really something to those glasses. They should probably like use that technology on their ships or armor or something.
No! Scatter!
Who hurts you?
There are more of them?
Who hurts you?
Okay. I'm just they're saying this is more Cyclopses, but for this to be the case, they would have to be standing in like a Power Rangers pose or something. Just the way they're contorting their body to get their eyes to show up like that would look hilarious if we could see them. Which to me implies a lot of closeness between them. So that's cool that they are not only a very nature-focused society, but one that is very close with each other. Literally close to each other in this case.
Hide.
Who hurts you?
Captain, we should run.
Wait.
Okay, literally how are they all fitting like that? They're playing like Twister stacking up on each other. I don't know, it's really funny to me. It's also very intimidating.
Captain, please.
Wait.
It was nobody. Nobody. If nobody hurts you, be silent. Don't go.
Let's grab the sheep and away we...
Okay, maybe not literally like socially close to each other, because they definitely could have pursued that line of thought some more. Especially if they're looking into his gaping hole of an eye right now.
go.
Have you forgotten the lessons I taught you? He's still a threat until he's dead. Finish it.
No.
No?
What good would killing do? When mercy is a skill more of this world could learn to use. My friend is dead, our foe is blind. The blood we shed, it never dries. Is this what it means to be a warrior of the mind?
Don't!
Hey, Cyclops!
Okay, so... We see him again standing up to the gods. Maybe the first time really standing up to the gods. Because his fight in the beginning was more... It seemed to resolve on the side of the gods ultimately. He seemed to have killed that child. But here, he not only defies Athena, but he breaks out of whatever little time spell she's got going on. And just completely ignores her. Wanting to do things for the sake of mercy, for the sake of his friend's memory, I think. But it's interesting to see those things take more precedence than the god who was his best friend, apparently. Who he was trained by, mentored by. And yeah, just cool to see cool to see the implication that the god's will is not so absolute after all, I suppose.
When we met, I led with peace, while you fed your inner beast. But my comrades will not die in vain. Remember them. The next time that you dare, choose not to spare. Remember them. Remember us. Remember me. I'm the reigning king of Ithaca. I am neither man nor mythical. I am your darkest moment. I am the infamous Odysseus!
I think that's the first time we actually got his name in song, by the way. He wants to scold this guy so badly and leave the memory of his name to haunt him, which I can understand him ignoring Athena and saying, I'm going to choose mercy. But it seems really weird for him to go and give him not only his name, but where he lives. And to do this after successfully fooling the Cyclops and getting away, like, that's just inviting trouble. I think, again, though, this is showing the value that he puts on vengeance, because to him, this is vengeance. He's saying, remember this pain whenever you see other people, whenever you're slighted, whenever you don't choose mercy. Remember us and what we've done to you. Like, he wants this Cyclops to live in pain and fear and to remember this moment forever. So to me, that's about cruelty or vengeance or something along those lines. And just reinforces that ongoing theme with him that he seems to really kind of prioritize that above a lot of other things, including at this moment his normal cynicism and precaution and paranoia. All right, and I believe this is the last one we're looking at today. So, yeah, I don't have much more to say about where we left off, so let's just get into this one.
You were reckless, sentimental at best. That's not a teaching of mine. You've grown soft. Your dead friends can attest.
Hey,
Put your emotions aside. You're a warrior, meant to lead the rest. I don't know where I went wrong, but I warned you, and you failed the test. So now I'm gone. This way, you'll know what your place is. This way, you can't cross the line.
Okay, so she's pissed that he's ignored her. It doesn't even seem like it's because she's worried for him and is like, how could you do something that's so dangerous? I'm worried for you. But it's more like, you disobeyed me and now you don't get any more of my guidance. Very punitive. Which she said it was a test, which is interesting phrasing. We know at the very least that their relationship started with a test with the boar that he hunted. So it makes sense to think she's basically constantly testing him, and that as soon as he failed the first one, she's just out. Which maybe she's just training a lot of people and wanting to find the best of the best. But to me, it speaks more to her being really petty and not liking the thought of him going against her wishes and will. And paints her, at least, and potentially the rest of the gods, in the light of people who really don't like to be slighted in any capacity. She's not apparently taking action against him, but she's withdrawing support that he seems to have had for, I would guess, most of his life. I guess I don't know how old he was, but he looked young in those other cinematics. So yeah, that's kind of petty.
This way, when all is over, you'll keep yours and I'll keep mine. This way, you won't disappoint me. This way, you won't waste my time. This way, I'll close the door. Consider this is my goodbye.
Okay, she says, this way, you're not going to disappoint me. You're not going to let me down anymore. Like, what? Is this... Is she punishing him, or is she, like, afraid for herself, getting too attached to someone who she knows is going to, like, die or suffer because of poor decisions that she's against? It's kind of an interesting characterization, but it also doesn't make a lot of sense.
Just like you, why should I be surprised? Selfish and prideful and vain, unlike you. Every time someone dies, I'm left to deal with the strain. What's a title that he got his land? If I'll never sleep at night, I'll remind you, I saw you as a friend. But now we're done this way, you're out of my head now. This way, you won't plague my life.
Okay, you're out of my head now and plaguing my life? Well, not plaguing his life anymore, but the implication is that she has been. And we've seen her, like, stop time, talk to him in his head. Has she just been, like, watching over his shoulder, pestering him for his entire life? Because that sounds horrid, even if she's giving useful advice. Like, does she not have anything better to do, or is she, like, omnipresent and omniscient or something? I feel like she doesn't give those vibes through anything else. But why would she spend so much time on him if she wasn't?
This way, when all is done, you're out of sight and out of mind. This way, you get what you wanted. This way, you can save your time. This way, you close the door and have your damn goodbye.
You're not looking for a mentor, I'm not looking for a friend. I mistook you for a general, what a waste of effort spent.
At least I know what I'm fighting for while you're fighting to be known. Since you claim you're so much wiser, why's your life spent all alone?
He says she's fighting to be known, which is weird for a goddess. I would take his words with a grain of salt because he's pretty emotional right now and caught up in just trying to be hurtful. But the implication is that she needs to be known for some reason. He says she's prideful and vain, so maybe it's just to satisfy those elements of herself. But maybe it's also hinting that gods need to be known, need to be worshipped to have power here. And she is fighting to secure her position that way. That's a lot more interesting, but probably a lot less supported by what they've said and done so far. I wonder if they'll shed light on that in the future.
All alone!
One day you'll hear what I'm saying. One day you might understand. One day, but not today. For after all, you're just this day you sever your own head. This day you cut the line. This day you lost it all. Consider this as my goodbye.
Who is singing here in the choir? Like, who's singing with her? I feel like it's hinting to something, but I have no idea what.
Consider this as my goodbye. This is my goodbye.
All right, well, that's kind of a weak note to end on as far as world building goes on. That was a really interpersonal one without much going on. I still liked it. I still love the music here. The piano in this one was great. But it does open the door to a little bit of interesting things that I don't know they will touch on more about the nature of gods and like where their power comes from and things like that. But yeah, I don't have too much more to say there. I liked this saga, this arc about the Cyclops. I feel like I liked the first one more. But I liked getting to see some of the, I don't know, I want to call it the scarier side of things, but I honestly feel like the Cyclops was just like a chill dude who liked nature and animals and had a favorite pet killed and got like lost in bloodlust because of it. So not like great by any means, but not exactly what you think of when you think of like bloodthirsty or scary monsters. I wonder if we'll see more like unabashedly evil or threatening nature or monsters or things like that later. But for now, I'm going to leave it here. I will be back next time and check out the rest of this musical. I don't know which part is next off the top of my head, but I will check it out and